Hello viewers, this is Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot. By now you'll know that Acosta, Trump's Labour Secretary, has stood down due to his role in Epstein's 2008 plea bargain, and that's good. That's, you know, one more less that we have to look at, that we have to deal with, and it is a win for these women. So that's great news. Now, I talked about a link, what I felt, and intuitively, what I felt could have been a link between the raids on Cohen's records, on his office, the documents, the emails, the tapes, the evidence that Mueller's investigators, or those in New York, SDNY, actually found. And Epstein's arrest. Now, what would link Mueller, Cohen, SDNY, Epstein's arrest? What would that be? And that would be, of course, the President of the United States. So I want to have a look at some questions. The timing of Epstein's arrest also is, I have to ask why now. So perhaps that's where we will start. Why was Epstein arrested now? Why now? He's been really got off almost scot-free in 2008. Everyone's known about this whole case for some time. Why are the authorities cracking down now? We've also had the arrest of Kraft, the billionaire Kraft, in Florida as well. And of course, he's quite tied to Trump. So it seems that these people within Trump's orbit are actually being brought to justice. So why now? Why now? Is this, is this the lawmakers fighting back? Is this the... Donald Trump refers to it as the deep state. I'm not going to say that, but the structures in America, is this finally doing something to try and stop this president, this democratically elected president? Well, that's what we think anyway, that he was democratically elected. The jury's still out on that one. But let's back to the matter at hand. Why was Epstein arrested now? And then I'm going to bring the laptop down, and then I'm just going to do a series of questions so that we can drill down on this matter. Why was Epstein arrested now? Why was Epstein arrested now? Why was Epstein arrested now? Okay, so I'm using my Anna Kay tarot. The signifier card is the Three of Swords, which is talking about loss, but also divorce, breaking up, I guess partnerships, collaborations that are no longer working, and in some cases, this is a marriage that hits the rocks, but it's based on things degenerating to such an extent, or deteriorating to such an extent, that the only way forward is to split. It's also around divine timing as well. There's a coldness to this card. This is, snowing, and so it's almost like wake up time. We can no longer continue in this way. It is time to sever connections. So I see that Three of Swords as being quite interesting as the signifier card, given this question. Now, the Ace of Rods, what is challenging this, I guess, divorce, if you like? We'll just call it a divorce at this stage. The need for new beginnings and new inspirations and new passions. I've long thought that not only America, but the world is really losing faith in the US. And this will put the US into, if we're talking about geopolitical power, it could be that people will, if they don't trust the US, then the US is not going to be supported. regardless of what we think, governments are elected by the people in Western democracies. And if the Western democracies are starting to see the US as a laughing stock in terms of Donald Trump's regime, I'm not talking about America itself, but the leadership of America, shall we say, if they're starting to lose faith and distrust and mistrust, what happens then to the influence that the US has in the world? How much more can the world take of someone like Donald Trump? Let's have a look at what the foundation of the reading is. Giving and receiving help. Why now? Somebody who is in debt to somebody else, loans and debts, giving and receiving help. Okay, so from that, I am going to say that the authorities at this point, why now? Because they were helped in some way. Okay, let's just leave that thesis there for a minute. In the past, this is my card for the American voters. This is the Ten of Cups. This is the security and safety of families right across the world, not just in the US. That's in the past position. Okay, what's uppermost in the lawmakers' minds is judgment. What does this judgment card tell us? It talks about liberating these women, first of all, but it also talks about a necessary ending. It's like things need to come out of that cave and into the light. It's almost like what has been living underground is now ending, or there are attempts to end this underground web, I'm feeling, of vice and corruption. Okay, and there's also, I should say, a divine aspect to this as well. We can see the angel standing on the side welcoming these women and children home, okay, back to the light. Okay. Now, the Five of Rods, we've got faction fighting, we've got a tug-o-war, we've got people not being able to agree. Is there a political solution to Trump? Possibly not. Possibly not, because the country, the US, is so divided. So would there be a lawful solution to someone like Donald Trump with the kind of baggage in the past that Trump may carry? We know it's well documented how many women have come forward and said that he and have accused him of sexual assault and rape. Okay, sexual molestation, sexual assault, rape, whatever you want to call it. It's all documented. That those accusations are a matter of public record. So, given that we've got someone like Trump in the White House, supposedly democratically elected, the country is not united. There obviously can't be a coup in Western democracies. If he was taken out in any other way, is this a way? I'm just going to put that out there without moving into a conspiracy theory. Is this a way now of really accelerating Trump's past catching up with him? So we've got, really at the moment, we've got this isolation. It reminds me of a picture that was posted on Twitter the other day, Trump looking out of an aeroplane window at the Statue of Liberty. In that photo, he looked old, he looked tired, and he looked a little bit of I have to say a joke. And I feel that this is what's now isolating Trump. Who can forget his Rose Garden press conference the other day with really what amounted to right-wing trolls on social media were invited to the White House, and then a press conference. They were asked to attend to a press conference with mainstream reporters and news organisations that adhere to particular rules that these right-wing race baiters don't. And of course, a melee, occurred, and Trump didn't even end up speaking. or he left early. So what we've got, the environment, okay, here is Trump as the King of Pentacles, and he's coming up in the environment position of this Celtic cross, which is linking to these sorts of cards here and also the foundation of the reading. He's right alongside the Hermit and the isolation. This is someone who has promoted the division and the faction fighting, and it has to come to an end somewhere along the line, whether you call it divine intervention or lawmakers are stepping up to the plate, or things are just too hot in the kitchen, something has to be done. Because I have to say, often justice may not, sorry about that little tilt, often justice may not be done because there's not the imperative, because it's not publicly visible, and so the imperative for justice is not there. I also saw a clip this morning of an assistant attorney who actually went into bat for Epstein and got him a lesser sentence. Why is that? When it has been well known exactly who Epstein is? Could it be the connections to this underworld, to this dark, hidden, nefarious activity? And of course, if we protect Epstein, then we protect everybody else that was involved in it. Okay, hopes and fears. This is the Chariot, and this is, linking with cards like the Magician, and it's talking about really something that is now moving forward with great speed. There is a certain fear here around this as well. The High Priestess, an interesting outcome card. Why now? We don't know why now. This is suggesting that the reasons are being hidden from us. The Page of Swords, we're likely to get a drip, drip, drip of information coming out. This is controlled in some way. And the Knight of Pentacles, this is somebody who is certainly courageous, going where others aren't daring to go. And of course that brings me to, all right, what's on the bottom? The Queen of Pentacles here. The Queen of Pentacles. This is money. This is women also. Women, security. This is also economic security. Security of money. Brings me to the question, was this a strategy of Robert Mueller? And the reason that I ask that is I don't feel intuitively. I was doing a reading the other day and I was using a pendulum, a dowsing pendulum, which I might bring forward later on in these readings. And it showed that Epstein would not be bringing down Trump, but Mueller would be. And that's interesting. Because I'm still thinking that this could be, or I want to pose that question, is this an actual strategy? Because we've got the George Nader link as well, who was a key figure in the Mueller investigation, found with pornography, on child pornography on his phone, and arrested. Is this a strategy? Okay, no, let's backtrack a little bit. Did they find evidence in the Cohen raids linking Epstein to Trump? Did they find evidence in the Cohen raids linking Epstein to Donald Trump? In, hard evidence in some way? Or these matters that Jeffrey Epstein is being charged with? Did they find evidence linking Epstein to Trump in the Cohen raids? Evidence, Cohen raids linking Epstein to Trump. I'm sort of getting a bit of a hit on that. Okay, so we've got the World here. I think this is what they could have found is links stretching across the world to other countries. If we're talking about money laundering and the Russian mafia and all of those things that go along with heinous heinous crimes like child sex trafficking or sex trafficking, these things tend to all sit together. Challenged by insecurity here around money. Okay. Let's keep that there. I'll bring the laptop down. Okay, was there evidence here? Looks like there was strong evidence, very strong evidence, and there was some sort of insecurity around something coming out. Let's just put it that way. We've got Donald Trump here as the foundation of the reading, my card for Donald Trump. In the past, now you saw me shuffling these cards. In the past, we've got this Judgment. Sometimes the same cards will come forward, and that's a synchronicity type situation here. We've got the Judgment card coming forward in the past. The Ace of Wands, what was uppermost in the mind, and this came out as the challenge in the last reading. What was uppermost in Mueller's mind is the need for a new start, a clean start. Eight of Rods, whatever they picked up in those Cohen raids was actually quite strong, because we've got somebody handing someone else some kind of communication, and all these rods here represent what was picked up. Okay, the mother card. Okay, the Empress, something very strong came out in those raids, something to do with women here. I've got the Empress card here, the Divine Feminine as well. And here we have our Three of Swords. It's wonderful how Spirit links these readings and links these cards, the environment around loss. Someone has made up their mind, that's it, enough. Okay, the Two of Pentacles. There is a fear here about keeping these balls in the air, and somebody at some point had to make a decision in order to move forward. Three of Rods, expansion and commerce. So it's interesting. It could be that someone or a group of people, or I don't know how else to describe it, that there have been decisions made that things have to be cleaned up, a mess has to be cleaned up, and so there's been almost a fishing exercise here as well to get some news. It's kind of like, yeah, the Queen of Cups here. Okay, things needing to be revealed, and we know about the Queen of Cups. She has been so what I'm seeing here was that they did pick up information around women and around payoffs in these raids. And what have we got, which is hidden from our view, is the Seven of Swords. Somebody could be potentially have broken the law. This is theft, betrayal, making off in the middle of the night with something that they don't own. So in these raids, there was plenty of information that was found, and some of it could have had to have been could have had to link with, or did link with, women. What has occurred in the past in relation to women and Donald Trump, the businessman, potentially payoffs that could have occurred. There was loss there, and heartbreak potentially, and a decision has been made then to take this forward in some way, but very, very tightly managed it. Okay, I'll just put forward a narrative here. Trump was supposedly democratic. He's a democratically elected president. I'm putting that in quote marks. He is appearing to be a democratic elected president. To take him down, when the extent of his collusion, apparent collusion, has been is known by the lawmakers, in a political situation where the Republicans hold the power there and the Democrats are jockeying also to win in 2020. Mueller offered the Democrats a way to impeach, and they haven't done so. Did he have a contingency plan here? Did he have a contingency plan? Now, the other thing that's surprising me is Berman is the attorney, the US Attorney General there that is oversighting. He is an appointment of Donald Trump's, but he is also connected with William Barr as well. Now, he came out in the press conference and you know, spoke about Epstein and Epstein's alleged crimes for the federal charges, which he hasn't been tried for yet. So, you know, the plot thickens, doesn't it? Now, we had Barr also, but you remember Barr's counterintelligence investigation to see whether the genesis of the investigation into the Trump-Russia potential conspiracy, the genesis of the Mueller investigation was actually found to be fair and correct and above board and not a witch hunt. There has been a preliminary finding around that Steele dossier in that investigation to show that the Steele dossier contained credible information that could have warranted the beginnings of this investigation. Now that's interesting, but that's separate. I won't go. I can't chase too many rabbits down a warren, can I? Back to Mueller. Is the arrest of well, let's just give these another shuffle. And I've just got to finish my coffee, my morning coffee. It's Saturday morning here in where I am, and I'm actually going out for lunch. So I'll finish my coffee and we'll get on with the reading. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Is this a Mueller strategy? If the politics can't get rid of Donald Trump, if the Congress can't get rid of Donald Trump, if there's too much politics getting in the way of removing this president who is doing enormous harm, are we now seeing an effort to get rid of him, to bring forward information that will force Congress's hands? And part of this is the Epstein matter. The Epstein matter. Did Mueller have a strategy here in handing off this investigation or the investigations to SDNY? We don't know what investigations they were. Did he have a strategy in order to bring forward information that could lead to the impeachment of Donald Trump? Did Mueller have this strategy? Mueller and his investigation team, the FBI, etc., did they have this strategy to eventually force or push the impeachment movement in Congress of Donald Trump? So Mueller, strategy, Epstein arrest. Is there that link there? Okay, so we've got these cards coming back out again, the Ten of Cups, which is the families, the American voters. The families are all across the world here. At some point, someone has to stand up for an order that keeps us reasonably secure. So you've got a choice, haven't you? You can live a reasonably, as much as we can be secure in the world, and with the various agendas, including money, dark money agendas. We can have that, or we can have total anarchy, which is what is sort of occurring, where we've got someone like Trump in power. Okay, so we've got the Ten of Cups here, family values, the American voters. What's the challenge is the King of Rods, so someone in authority boss, somebody who hasn't naturally come up through, in traditional pathways to authority, someone who has stepped forward, driven themselves forward and taken that power. Of course, we know what Trump has done to the Republican Party as well, or what the Republican enablers, certain Republican enablers, have let Trump do to the Republican Party, which of course is Mueller's party as well, I might add. He's a Republican. So the foundation of the reading is balance. Balance, the Temperance card. This is also associated with the sign of Sagittarius, the month of December. So we'll just keep that there. Okay, so Temperance, bringing balance back into a situation. The Ace of Cups in the past, new starts. Okay. New starts, new emotional starts here as well. We've got the Queen of Wands here. She is very intelligent. She is somebody that brings intuition, brings almost an inner knowing into a situation. The Queen of Wands is also associated with really, I would say, putting into, putting into motion her intuition to really allow it to unfold and reach a certain outcome. This is also the feminine rising as well. The Ten of Rods, this is really carrying really heavy burdens, very heavy burdens. Really, the burdens are almost too much for this person. Did Mueller have a strategy? The Empress card coming up again, something very strong. This is also abundant, an abundance of evidence as well. Six of Pentacles, loans and debts. This card always comes up in relation to the Mueller investigation. Who was in debt with whom? These are fairly dark webs that we're talking about here. These are this kind of underground kind of connection. The Four of Swords in this card, in the hopes and fears. I think what Mueller might have found, or the investigating team might have found, is something fairly serious. And there was a decision now to do something about that with this information coming forward. But this is only a page, so there is an ending here. Okay. This slow drip of information coming out and an ending of something. We've got the Six of Wands, which is the victory card. The Six of Wands, which is the victory card. Okay. What's hidden from our view is the autocrat, the emperor. Now, that again is Trump as the president, but it is also a card for stability. Like, the emperor isn't always Trump. It's a move here to bring more stability and control into a situation. Victory, the endings of something, the slow drip of truth. So while I don't think that the Epstein matter in itself will contribute to the ending of Trump's presidency, I feel it's all connected. So I guess the next question here, if Epstein talks, and this will be my last question because I do have to get back to my weekend. If Epstein talks, is he going to incriminate Trump? He'll incriminate others as well. It won't be just Donald Trump, because what I'm getting with that Judgment card is the ending of this dark web. We go to New York, and then we go to the playground of the New York millionaires, billionaires, etc. in Florida. And then we go to Russia. I guess that's what I want to ask, because we've got these Eastern Bloc countries. No, that I'll leave that for another reading. Let's move to, is Epstein going to incriminate Trump? Is Epstein, gee whiz, I'm just getting absolutely desperation on the part of Epstein. I read that he wanted to get out on bail. He is definitely a flight risk. Okay, so okay, because we know what happens to people in jails when they're accused of that kind of crime. Okay, so Epstein, will he, the desperation, because he's so desperate, is he likely to implicate people, the rich, the famous, those in high places, in the moneyed echelons, financial echelons, the celebrities, the royalty, who knows, former presidents, you name it. But let's just talk about one person. Is Epstein going to implicate Trump in any way in this nefarious web, this dark web, this underground covert web that includes all these heinous crimes? Okay, so is Epstein going to implicate Trump? Epstein. Yes. I got yes just before I started, but it's a yes with this victory card, which of course was Mueller's card. Challenged though by the Knight of Pentacles. Patience. I think we're going to have to be. This information won't come out all at once and all tomorrow. It's going to come out in time. The ending of something. The ending of potentially Trump's presidency. We've got strength in the past here. Strength and endurance. I do believe that is the Mueller investigation. Uppermost in his mind, the lovers, the deals, all of that. The Eight of Swords. He's in prison. He's in prison now. This is restriction. Epstein's restricted. Finally. The Ace of Cups here coming forward. This the current situation here in relation to the question. This card came up in the past in relation to Mahler. This is emotional, new emotional starts. The environment around two aces being pulled in relation to this question. Some sort of truth coming out. So what has his arrest generated? It's generated more and more women coming forward wanting justice. So the situation now is so public, it would be very difficult to hide the truth. So we talk about why did people, when Trump was first elected and in the last 2 years, why have people turned a blind eye when we know you've got a humanitarian crisis on your border? I noticed that Mike Pence was there this morning looking, and there were footage of a very clearly overcrowded cage of men that have been locked up there for weeks and weeks and weeks. It was quite distressing images coming out of the United States. What's going on here? Is Trump being set up now also by Pence? The hopes and the fears, there's just anxiety there. That what I started to say was we wonder why people turn a blind eye when you see such heinous vision unfolding before you, when you know about these crimes that are being covered up because the rich and the famous, say they should be covered up. Somebody has got to a tipping point, and I feel it's in the Mueller investigation where they've seen enough to warrant exposure of this, and when it comes out into the light, it's very hard to cover up. The Magician here. Don't underestimate Trump or the Republican Party, but also this is linking with the Death card in terms of ending something, actualizing something into reality. I could go on. How long is a piece of string? Wondering whether there are Republicans actually involved in all of this. The Page of Swords, the slow drip of the truth, which is clarifying the magician. Mahler, I feel in this case, is the magician. And the Page of Rods, new starts. But this is this is something that's occurring quite slowly. Can't go too quickly or there would be revolt. This is a stepwise process. The Eight of Cups, we've got somebody walking away here. So I feel, in summary, that the Epstein arrest is linked also. I'm not saying it's the prime reason, but I feel that there is some information that came to light in the Cohen raids. There has been some decision now made at whatever level, although this could have been a strategy of Mueller's from the word go, understanding that Trump may not have been able to be removed by the political processes and that there had to be contingency plans in place. What is less clear to me is, the why now, and also the part that people like William Barr might play in this. But that will be for another reading. So suffice to say, if we want to simplify something that's very complex, write down what has been hidden, what has been an injustice for a decade or more, 2 decades, is now coming to the light. And there is a reason as to why that's happening. And that reason appears, according to my intuition and my impressions, linked in some way to this presidency and what's been going on over the last couple of years, and a more focused link is with Cohen and that raid on his offices. Okay, and Robert Mueller. Now, it appears that his testimony has been delayed for this week. I was actually going to read on him. I'm not surprised it's been delayed, because if you think about that page with the truth coming out and the timing around all of this, it could be that it's not the right time with the Epstein arrest for Mueller to come before Congress. There are very, very complex forces behind these scenes that are going on at this point in time. All right, so those that may have enjoyed a free ride away from the jaws of justice, it appears are no longer getting that. Thank you.